morning. Happy Monday. It is apparently St. Patrick's Day. So, happy St. Patrick's Day. I don't really recall the story of St. Patrick's Day, so I'm going to look that up today. So, my name is Miss Lafalot, and I'm a type 1 diabetic, okay? And I'm on a mission to tell everybody about my story and document it so that I can remember and so that we can all remember too and grow and learn. Okay, so I believe that when we share our stories are extremely powerful. This is how we remember, this is how we learn, and this is how we pass down information from generation to generation so that we can learn, we can grow, we can correct our mistakes and do things differently in the future as well, judging by, our stories. So, as a type 1 diabetic, originally type 2, and then 6 months later, type 1. Interesting, hey? I've discovered a lot and done a lot of experimenting, okay? One of the experiments I've done is with sardines and the power of the sardines on my body. I mean, I don't know how you're going to react, but the sardines are extremely powerful. I've experimented with water, spring water only, and also with olive oil. My concern with olive oil is I'm not sure what they're cutting, what they're using in olive oil. Like, if it's strictly olive oil, then I would be more prone to use that on a regular basis. But if I don't know if they're putting other ingredients in there as fillers, then I would be less prone to be wanting to use that, right? So I believe that if our mitochondria get gummed up, it's only logical to me that if they're gummed up, they're not going to be able to send and receive messages in the way they were intended to. Okay, so I found that increasing the sardines, like the omega-3s, the magnesium, the vitamin D, there's extremely powerful benefits. Of course, we're not just focusing on those, but we're also focusing on our B vitamins and the whole spectrum, right? So for me, if I eat too much protein, okay, my blood sugar spikes. Okay? When I add more fat, like 80% fat, then there's much a way slower blood sugar spike. Okay, so I mean, I don't know what you're gonna do to manage your diabetic diagnosis, but this is what I do, and this is what I've observed, and we're all gonna observe different things. And I do believe we're all gonna learn something from each other, even if you don't agree with the way I eat, and maybe I don't agree with the way you eat. We're all going to learn something. So I'm really, I have chastised other people for doing certain things, and as I every day I grow a little bit older, I reflect and I think, well, I don't know if that's really the right way that I want to present myself. In certain moments, I might be really frustrated, and then things come out. But as I reflect, I think, well, I wonder how much I can learn when I keep my mind open, right? Instead of focusing on who's wrong, then what if I focus on what is right about different concepts? And then I can combine them and create a health regime for myself that will meet my needs and my metabolic health in that state, right? Because as I eat certain things, then I learn certain things, and then I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'm going to do this now. Okay, I've reset that. Now, how can I reset this? Right? Yeah. So speaking of resetting the metabolism, okay, when we move, we open up a space for increasing our metabolism, right? We open up a space for lowering or regulating our cortisol levels, and thus we're regulating our insulin levels, right? Your doctor may not even be able to they might say that your blood sugars are fine, okay, that your fasting blood sugars are fine. But the thing is, that's only a moment in time, okay? So you're going to get a much more, um, I'm not going to say completely accurate, because blood sugar is only one thing. Okay, so you're going to only get one method of observing data, right? But okay, let's just take the blood sugar. Okay, so you just take it in one moment in time. Well, what about the rest of the day, right? So when you're looking at your blood sugars and how insulin resistant or readily available your cells are taking that insulin in, you're going to want to see, well, how long did it take my blood sugar to rise? How long did it take my blood sugar to fall, right? So very, very interesting. I did an experiment, I want to tell you. I did an experiment this weekend. I had experienced a really uncomfortable low maybe a month ago, and I was at the gym, and I thought, oh, I'm just about to get in my car, so I need to figure this out now. So I went and I bought a muffin, something that I just don't do, but I thought, okay, I need to figure something out now, and I know that a muffin will bring me up very fast. So I had this muffin. It's been in my fridge for ever since then. I had a few bites, and then that was enough. Right? Anyway, I took this yesterday, and I thought I want to do another experiment. So how is my metabolic how is my metabolism shifted since the last time I had those that sugar, right? How's it shifted? So I went and I had a couple bites of this muffin. It's a chocolate chip muffin, and it's really interesting because it tastes gross to me now. It's like, ugh, it leaves like a waxy feeling on my tongue. Because my body's fairly clean, right? Because I don't eat the carbs, the fruit, vegetables, or carbs. Like it's just meat, and whatever carbs there may be, and a little bit of dairy. Do you know what I mean? So I've noticed when I drink because in Canada we're not allowed to have raw milk. So I've been eating the 35% cream, and I know better because I know it makes me insulin resistant. Okay, there's this ingredient in there called carrageenan, and this carrageenan doesn't like me, and I know this. So anyway, I have been delving into the 35% cream, and of course reaping the non-benefits, which is insulin resistance. Okay, so I thought, I wonder what'll happen if I have, because this thing has been in my freezer, that muffin. So I took it out, and then I took bites, right? So then, like every time I reaffirm these lessons, it helps me remember in a different way. So I took a bite of this muffin with disgusting amounts of sugar, and you're operating on a different fuel system, right? The speed at which your cells are going to react to glucose or fat are completely different. How long they stay in the body are also very different. Okay? So what I've been focusing on lately, of course, if you've seen my shorts, you've seen me eating butter. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to eat butter, and I'm going to see how this affects the integration of glucose into the cell, my body, right? So anyway, I played around with that. So what I noticed was, like the day before, I woke up at a 3 point something, which I'm not worried about. My body, I've gotten my I don't know about you, but for me, when I'm at a 3.6, I feel okay. I feel great. I feel fine. Okay, I'm not worried. I am worried, like when I eat carbs and I'm at a low like that, that's when my body doesn't like it. Okay, that's when I can get weird. But yesterday, I woke up at a 7, and I'm like, weird. Okay, so this is why, that little bit of muffin that I had, like it's like the I balanced it out by eating lots of butter. Okay, so my body was able to stabilize as long as I had a lot of fat. Okay, but the thing is, it's not going to come down. It didn't come down. It stayed, well, it dropped about 3 points while I was sleeping. Okay, but I combined that with so much butter because I'm like, okay, I've just kept eating butter. And this morning, I had a couple cups of coffee as usual. So that's less. You usually have more, which not always, but anyway, I'm doing an experiment. But this is now butter water because I clearly can see just by the evidence through numbers and through experience that the fat slows it down. So if you are choosing to use glucose, where a lot of diabetics do, then what happens when you eat the fat, right? Or eat something like they say chicken soup for the soul, where there's true meaning in that. Bone broth is healing. If you are choosing to use the glucose route, which I don't, my body already is most of the time very capable of creating sugar. Okay, it's not a problem, and I'm a type 1 diabetic, so they say. My body has no problem making sugar. Okay, and there's times where I will go low. Right? It's a process, right? As your body shifts its metabolic health, you learn and you grow. So, and I want to touch on this very important story. Okay, before my first hospitalization. And I'm just fascinated with the brain, okay? As you know, I'm a coma survivor, survived a 9-hour coma when I was 17. So brain health has been extremely important to me, especially as an adult in the last 10 years, okay? Brain health is very important. So before my first hospitalization, I had this repetitive thought, okay? This one sentence kept coming to me, and I was cognitive enough to realize that I was uncontrollable. I'm like, how do I stop this thought from coming? I'm trained in, my training has guided me enough to know how to stop thoughts, but I was cognitive enough to know this was uncontrollable. It was repetitive, and it kept happening, and just out of the blue, I'm like, what is going on? So, and by that time, I'd wasted away to 84 pounds, which means my body was muscle wasting and using my muscle as energy because I had no fat to draw from. So diabetics, I want you to, we know as diabetics that when we take our insulin, there is an effect on your body, right? So when we take more insulin, we become insulin resistant. Okay? We're no different than the average person who does not have diabetes showing up yet. Okay, you're going to develop that resistance much earlier. Okay, you're going to develop that maybe 10 years earlier. Your resistance will start, but it won't show up in your numbers. Your doctor will say, yeah, well, your numbers are fine. But perhaps he's checking or she is checking the wrong thing. Okay? See, with diabetics, you're smart. You have access to more information than the average Joe. You do. A lot of you deny what you know. You deny what you know. You know, in a sense, just a bit more than that doctor that says that they don't understand or they don't know what causes insulin resistance, sweetie. But I know that you as a diabetic would look at them and say, well, some of them they really don't know. But you as a diabetic, you have the data and the experience to know what is causing insulin resistance within you. You know that you can be skinny and be insulin resistant. You know that you can be fat and be insulin resistant. That's how it shows up. But a type 1, you know, why was it that I was diagnosed as a type 2? I know I'm digressing. I said I'd bounce, breathe, and laugh with you. That's the title, but please bear with me. I was diagnosed as a type 2. I was very, very, very thin. I was very thin. If you look at the progression of my disease over time, you'll see that I was very thin. Now, I believe that type 2 is the first progression of type 1. But it is masked because some of you are told to take insulin, and then it starts to show up in a different way. I do believe that it could be a progression into type 1. I took out the variable, right? I chose not to take the insulin, which was very devastating to my body. Do I regret it? No, because I learned something. And as I learn something, you, with more knowledge than me, will be able to figure out stuff in a different way than I am, because you have more knowledge, especially if you're a doctor, right? Or an endocrinologist or a cell biologist, okay? I'm obsessed with cell biology. I'm obsessed with metabolism. I'm obsessed with diabetes. So as I progressed from type 2 to type 1, then there were so many beautiful lessons that came through. I got in the mind of what I believe is well, of course, it's brain damage, right? When you look at an autistic child, okay, an autistic child, like the one that I worked with a very autistic child at one point in my life, and so when I saw my brain changing, I'm like, this is what an autistic child acts like. Now you might ask yourself, well, what comes first, thought or action? Right? I'll leave that with you. What comes first, thought or action? So as I saw my brain change and that repetitive thought just keep happening, I was able to see, I'm like, wow, I think that must be what's happening to an autistic child. So could it be that they're also experiencing insulin resistance as well, right? What do they tell autistic children to eat? Or the parents of autistic children, what are they telling them to eat, right? So, anyway, I find metabolic health extremely fascinating, right? And as I said before, is that I can choose to take this diabetic diagnosis as a tragedy, or I can say it was a gift, right? It was a wonderful gift that was given for me to share and learn from. So, as you can see, I'm on a yoga ball. And often if I do have something to say, I want to say it now, right? And but right now, I'm going to start, we're going to harness it back in. And I just want you to, if you're on a yoga ball, just start bouncing. Put your hands, you can put your hands like this, like this, like this, or your hands down, okay? Hands down, whatever you want. And just ground yourself and bounce, okay? So the good thing about the yoga ball is it forces you to balance yourself, right? You cannot lean back, you can't lean forward without bracing yourself, right? And engaging, right? Now what does a physiotherapist do with you, right? Can anybody think about some of the actions that a physiotherapist or a masseuse would ask you to do in those moments when they're teaching you how to get in touch with your body to help move pain, right? And alleviate pain. Okay. So what happens, when the masseuse asks you to engage that muscle on your side and without moving, right? Right. So what you're going to do is you're gonna engage that muscle, right? You're going to engage it through thought. Well, what happens if I engage the muscle through thought without a movement, right? A physical movement like this, right? Because right now my side is moving, right? But what happens if you put your arms up, right? And what happens when you observe, what you're feeling as you're doing this? Most of us don't even give it a thought. How much effort it really does take to put your hands like this and sit. Elders will notice. Anybody with metabolic dysfunction of any form where they're so weak they can't move, they truly understand how much energy it takes to put the hands up on their head or to the side, okay? So as you bounce and put your hands out like this, and you bounce, now what muscles are you engaging? Now, okay? So if you are on a chair, okay, so let's say you don't have a yoga ball right now, I highly encourage you because we're going to be using this a lot, okay? So if you have a chance to get a yoga ball, get your hands in a yoga ball, or one from a friend, or just go out and get one. Just notice how effortless it can feel. It's absolutely wonderful. So we will be using this yoga ball quite often. So if you want to attend this class, then go get one, please. So putting your hands out to the side, okay? Exercise doesn't have to be strenuous. It doesn't have to be hard, extremely hard, okay? It doesn't have to be extremely hard, okay? If it's extremely hard, sometimes, like what's happening, if you're noticing, you just cannot lose weight, okay? You as a diabetic or anybody with metabolic dysfunction, which is insulin resistance, which is most of the planet now, you look at them all and you've got all fat bellies and stuff, which means they've got insulin resistance, okay? Metabolic dysfunction. So sometimes when you use too much energy, you're going to get different spikes of different chemicals, one being cortisol, right? So if you're getting cortisol in your body, you can't figure out why you're not losing this belly fat. Perhaps, by shifting to a different exercise and moving through that for maybe about 3 weeks, maybe a month, just do one exercise. I like the idea of doing just like isolating one exercise, right? Then, maybe next month you'll try a different exercise. Do it long enough to actually be able for your cells to actually adjust and show you some kind of evidence over time, right? And this is why, eating, if you're trying to figure out like what you're allergic to, this is of course a process that we'll go through, the process of ultimate elimination, right? The process of ultimate elimination can also form in the exercises that you choose to do as well, right? What happens when I just do this exercise for 3 weeks? What happens if I do this exercise for 3 weeks, right? Okay, so balance. We're bouncing. And so now I want you to add the breath, okay? So breath is extremely important to your longevity. What happens if we don't breathe? Right? Breath is extremely important to longevity, and so is movement, and so is thought and the lack of thought. These are all longevity secrets, but they're really not a secret, okay? So lengthening your spine and your belly, okay? So breathe in, and as you breathe in, your belly is going to get big. And as you exhale, you're going to sink your belly button into your spine. Okay, so now I'd like you to, now it's going to take coordination, because now we're bouncing, okay? So I want you to do a little bouncy bounce, then I want you to breathe in, belly gets big, and you exhale, you're sinking your belly button into your spine. Breathe in, bounce, and exhale. Okay, breathe in, your belly gets big, and exhale, twice as much air that you breathe in. Okay, so now as you're bouncing and breathing, I want you to just take note at what's happening with your arms are like this. Notice what muscles in your back you're engaging. Notice what muscles in your legs you are utilizing. Bouncing up and down. Relaxing into the movement. Engaging your core. Engaging your shoulders. Bringing in your Mona Lisa smile. Okay, the Mona Lisa smiles is very, very clever. Okay? It's a very clever movement. And how do we know if Mona Lisa is smiling through her eyes or through her mouth? Anybody ever wondered about that? So anytime you're in a moment where maybe you're feeling a little bit stressed, and you can't smile because it's inappropriate, because truly you're interacting with somebody who is having they're having a behavior of some sort, maybe they're reacting. What I want you to do is practice this very, very important skill, and it's called the Mona Lisa smile, okay? So you just lift up the corners of your mouth very, 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 very lightly. Okay, so notice this. And you can see, when you watch people, you see the lines in their face, you can see what they've been doing their whole life, right? Lines on the face are a beautiful marker of how they've lived their life. So lifting up the corners of the mouth, just very gently. What's going to happen now is you're going to get this a chemical cocktail through your ascent through your body just by going like this. So when one laughs, you're creating energy, but you're also using a lot of energy. Okay? But if you want to give yourself a little bit more energy because you have to conserve it, then just Mona Lisa smile. So just like you just focus on your bouncing, and put your hands out to the side. Or you can switch arms and switch the position, go one arm to the front and one arm to the back. Okay? So now as you do this, I want you to notice what muscles you are engaging. And you can make that smile just a little bit bigger. To you. Noticing what muscles you are engaging. Okay, so if you're on a chair, I want you to see. Okay, you can do a variation. I'm bouncing on the ball, but what you can do is you can be using a chair to simulate a ball. Okay, so you can put your hands out. Okay, keep your spine straight, and you're going to keep close to the chair, right? Keep close to the chair, so you're going to sit on the chair. Test it out. Okay, you're close to the chair. My heels are touching the leg of the chair. Okay, so at least if you're keeping your heels close to the chair, you know where it is. Okay, so you know where it is. Put your hands out and sit down. Okay, and back up. So if you want to just simulate a little bit of a bounce, you don't need to get too crazy. You can just engage. Okay. See, now I'm just flexing my buttocks, flexing my core. I'm just giving a little bounce. Okay. Hands out, spine straight, and it's just a little bounce. You're not going all crazy. You're just doing a little bounce, and it's quite amazing. You know what you're engaging when you do that. You don't have to necessarily do a whole sweating workout to keep a toned body, as long as you keep consistent. Consistency is the key, right? I mean, if you just do one workout a week, you may be able to obtain that muscle for sure. Some people do. They can just lift once a week and they'll be fine. Other people will need to do something different. It depends on what metabolic state that you're in. Okay? So you can bounce like that. Okay, so what you're doing is you're engaging your core, engaging your legs, and your feet are flat down on the ground. So I want you to really engage. Now what you can do is you can rock back and forth. So when I'm rocking back and forth on the ball, you could also do something like this. So you're going on your tippies and back, tippies and back, tippy toes, heels, tippy toes, heels, tippy toes, heels. So this is going to be really engaging all of your muscles really, because you have to balance. Okay? So if you want to make it harder, then you just put your arms out. Okay? And some very, very gentle exercise, right? Exercising your core, engaging your core, engaging your buttocks, and putting your arms out high. So you can now put your thumbs up, okay? So when the hands up, my hands are out, put your thumbs up. Okay? There we go. Hey, oh! So don't bounce, just be very careful. We're playing some really good music here. Watch me now. Bum, bum. Okay, so our thumbs are up like this. So now you're using different muscles, okay, in your forearms. So you want to get different cut lines in your forearms, just change positions. It's a very, very subtle movement, okay? Going back and forth. Back and forth. Okay? So those are the variations that you can do on a yoga ball. Okay. So here's the yoga ball. Okay, so let's exercise our arms. So you're going to use a chair or you can use the ball. Okay, use the chair or use the ball. Okay, so I'm going to use the ball. So just by going like this. Okay, so I want you to put your elbows down like this. Okay, so your fists are like this. Okay. So I want you to bend your knees just a little, and just lean, okay? It's a very, very powerful knee, okay? Just holding a position for long enough is a really good way to strengthen that muscle. You know, what other exercises can you think of? Like yoga, that's what they do, right? They hold the poses. Okay, so right now, as you put your hands like this, I want you to flex your bum, flex your core, okay? And now, right now, I'm really focusing on flexing my back, okay? So this is a very gentle and easy exercise. So you can take a chair, and do the same thing, okay? So keeping your spine straight, and you're just leaning. Now you want to change the position, you can rock back and forth. So this is a very, very gentle exercise, moving back and forth onto the heels and onto the balls of your feet. Pushing back gently onto your heels, going forward, leaning forward, and lifting up your onto the pads of your toes, okay, onto the pads of your feet. So as you lift that up, what muscles are you engaging? You're engaging your calves and the back of okay. So you're going back, stretching those calves onto the heels, and then to the front, tippy toes, onto the pads of your feet, and you hold. Let's just hold that pose, going up on your tippy toes, and hold it for 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And slowly back down and rock back onto your heels, stretching your calves. So you're bringing the pads of your feet up off the ground and you're balancing yourself on your heels. Okay? And holding it. So my arms are like this. Okay? So they're on the chair, and just hold it back on your heels and hold it. So right now I'm focusing on scrunching up my bum, my calves, my core, my belly, my back, my shoulders. And all it is a simple hold move. Just hold. Okay? So in laughter core, what we do is we combine all of these positions with laughter. Okay? So this is how it is different from other exercises in laughter yoga, which I am trained in, but I developed laughter core. I wanted a way to isolate the muscles and strengthen them, whereas what laughter yoga does not do, right? They don't focus on holding the poses and strengthening the core. It's not how really it's taught. I mean, you are strengthening the core no matter what you're doing, but what I wanted is to design a way that you specifically focus on holding the positions. Okay, and then you add laughter. So when we think about the metabolic shift that we are focusing on when we do laughter core, is we're focusing on methods that we can reduce our cortisol, right? Because as a diabetic or anybody experiencing metabolic dysfunction, is your cortisol is going high, right? And of course, when our cortisol goes high, we need more insulin, no matter who you are. Doesn't matter if you're non-diabetic or not, you're going to need more insulin. And then what we do is we observe, well, what happens when or how long does it take for our cortisol to go down, right? And so as our cortisol goes down, over time, our insulin should be going down as well, right? Doesn't mean that that's always going to be the case, but as your metabolic health shifts, then your insulin levels will go down, right? But we have to get that cortisol level down first. So this is why I'm very particular in saying that if you are experiencing weight gain and you have no idea why, you're eating, routinely at a certain time, you're eating the same things, you cannot figure why you cannot lose that weight. This is the time to think, okay, well, what can I change in my routine so that I don't get as high as a cortisol spike? Because cortisol, we need cortisol, right? It's our fight or fight response. Like we need to know whether we need to run or fight, right? So it's important. But so, like I said, I was pumping weights from September till October. In August, I was hospitalized. Okay, so I had to really fight hard I'm like, okay, I have to really take this diabetes very seriously and bring my insulin levels down. Okay, because I almost died. It was a true story, right? Experiments failed. I failed myself sometimes because I sometimes I would be just so burnt out, and I put a little bit less care than I should have because I was so burnt out. And which is a reality. No matter if you're diabetic or not, you're going to have burnout sometimes because just life, right? That's just life. So anyway, I got real serious about. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna really change my ways and really take this seriously because I don't want to die. Not right now. But I started pumping iron like every day, and I realized like, of course, like I had to take more insulin. And over time, like for the past month or so, almost 2 months now, I stopped doing the weights, and boy, my weight was just dropping off. Like, this is really interesting, right? And of course, it makes sense. My metabolic health was shifting, and and this is the one thing that a type 1 diabetic can clearly see. Um, when you need less insulin, right? Um, so yeah, I was able to give myself less insulin, and you know what? I'm going to do the weights again. I enjoy doing weights. Okay, I really miss doing the weights, and I miss how my arms. I was quite big. Like if you look at these video from a couple months ago, I'm big. Like I got big muscles, and you could just tell I'm big. I'm more bulky. I don't think I was fat really, but I did notice that there was more belly fat here, and I'm like, why? Like everything else is fine. I like my big legs and I like my big arms, but I was having trouble getting rid of a little bit of belly fat, right? And I don't think that's necessarily bad. I just like to look a certain way. Okay, I don't believe it was an unhealthy amount of fat, but I just want to be a little more toned. That's all. I'm like, why can't I get this tone? Well, my cortisol was high. Okay, so then once I adjusted my exercise, I started doing my walks instead, just walking more, walking once, twice a day, swimming. And then I noticed the weight just shifted off. Now, the experiment will be, it's like, okay, what happens when I go back into working out, like with weights, which I'm going to do too, to see what shifts happen within my body. And if I go back into the weights, am I going to have to use more insulin now, right? Because it's a thing, right? Maybe back then, I my metabolic health wasn't obviously as healthy because I nearly died in August, right? So the 3 months after was a 3 month adjustment period, right, where there would be new cell regeneration and different effects on my body happening. So now what I want to do is, if once my body is reset, then now what happens when I go back into that weightlifting? Maybe it'll be fine. Maybe my body will be able to, or to calm down enough, or not remain at a high blood sugar, right? So because then I was keeping my blood sugars in check, right? But I had to take more insulin, right? So is that a skewed experiment? Because I had to give myself more insulin. So is that a skewed experiment? How can I clearly judge how well my metabolic system was doing if I'm having to give myself more insulin? I don't know. I'm just learning, right? I'm just a little baby at this diabetes thing. And I find it really fascinating. So, um, so I'd like you to just take some deep breaths as we wind down from today. Just breathing in. Put your hand, one hand on your heart center, one hand on your belly, and breathe in. So your belly gets big, and you exhale, sinking your belly button into your spine. Relaxing your shoulders. Inhale, your belly gets big. And exhale. Practicing your Mona Lisa smile. And exhale. Sinking your belly button into your spine. Breathing in, belly gets big. Dropping your shoulders. Inhale. And exhale. And switching hands. So one hand on your belly button, breathing in, belly gets big, and exhale, sinking your belly button into your spine. It's really wonderful because when you're diabetic or if you wear a CGM, you'll be able to see the power that breath has on your numbers. It's really quite incredible. Not all the time, but you'll be able to see a rapid, sometimes rapid and not so rapid effect on your blood sugar with breath. It's really cool. Okay. So I'd like you to breathe in. Put your hands on your legs. So like this. So by your knees. Or they can go like this, or one hand up, one hand down. And then I just want you to breathe in as you exhale when you just drop your ear to one shoulder. Stretching your neck. Feeling your stretch in your shoulder and your neck. Practicing your Mona Lisa smile. Bringing that smile in your eyes. And feeling the relaxation. Inhale up to center. And exhale to the other side. Inhale up to center. And exhale to the other side. Very good. Inhale, and as you exhale, I want you to gently roll your chin forward, tucking your chin as close to your chest as you can. Remember, there's no pain, there's no dizziness. If you feel pain or dizziness, I want you to stop and readjust. So rolling slowly to the other side, your other shoulder, tucking your chin to your chest. And slowly rolling it back. To the other side. Feeling the stretch in the back of your neck. And rolling to the front. Hi there. Relaxing your belly. Relaxing your face, your shoulders, your fingers. Rolling to the other side. And inhale up to center. And I want you to roll your shoulders back. Inhale up, shoulders up, and back. Exhale. Inhale forward and up. And exhale. Inhale up. And exhale. So inhale, now I want you to just curve your back, curve your spine, sinking your belly button into your spine, and curve, stretching your back, just like a cat. So you're balancing your hands on your knees, and you're stretching your back. Hold it, And exhale, and as you exhale, you're just going to go to the front and stretch your back the other way. Remember, there's no pain, no dizziness. If you feel pain or dizziness, just stop and readjust. Looking up to the sky. And bending forward, stretching your spine like a cat, tucking your tailbone in. So when you tuck your tailbone in, you can really feel your sitting bones. And I want you to take your shoulders and I want you to roll them to the front. So inhale to the back and exhale to the front. Inhale to the back and exhale to the front. Inhale to the back and exhale to the front. Inhale to the back and exhale to the front. Now gently put your chin to your chest, as close to your chest as you can. No pain, no dizziness. And slowly lift it up to center. And thank you very much for joining. We will see you tomorrow. Love you lots.